Research Methodology. Chapter 2, Research Design. Part 1. Meaning of research problem. A research problem is a clear statement of an issue or gap in knowledge that a researcher wants to investigate and resolve through systematic study. The word research means to study something deeply, and problem refers to a question or gap that needs an answer. A research problem defines what needs to be studied and why it is important. It helps the researcher focus on the right variables and choose the right methods. It gives direction to the entire research process. For example, if students in rural areas score poorly in exams, a researcher may identify the lack of quality teachers as the research problem. Selection of a research problem. 1. Relevance. The problem must relate to the field of study and address a real, significant issue. 2. Clarity and specificity. It must be clearly defined, precise, and free from confusion to ensure focused research. 3. Researchability. It must be possible to collect and analyze data on the problem using proper research methods. 4. Feasibility. The problem should be manageable within the available time, money, and resources. 5. Originality. The problem should contribute new knowledge or offer a fresh angle on an existing issue. 6. Ethical considerations. The research must follow ethical standards and avoid causing harm or bias. Sources of research problem. 1. Literature review. Gaps and unanswered questions in existing studies inspire new research problems. 2. Practical problems. Real-world issues in business, education, or society form meaningful research topics. 3. Theoretical issues. Unresolved or debated theories in a subject area can become research problems. 4. Personal interest. A researcher's own curiosity or professional background can inspire relevant topics. 5. Observations. Everyday patterns or trends in society can lead to identifying useful research problems. 6. Expert advice. Guidance from teachers or professionals helps in identifying researchable problems. Components of research problem. 1. Research objectives. Defines the goals of the study and guides data collection, analysis, and interpretation. 2. Research questions. Specific queries the study seeks to answer, breaking down the objectives into measurable parts. 3. Hypotheses. Tentative statements predicting relationships between variables to be tested empirically. 4. Variables. Factors that can change in a study, including independent, dependent, and control variables. 5. Scope and delimitation. Defines the boundaries of the study, population, area, and time period covered. 6. Significance of the study. Explains the academic, practical, or social importance of the research. Sources of problems for research. 1. Deductions from theory. Predictions are made from existing social theories and tested through research to confirm or reject them. 2. Interdisciplinary perspectives. Research ideas come from related fields outside the researcher's main area of study. 3. Interviewing practitioners. Discussions with professionals like teachers and doctors reveal real-world research gaps. 4. Personal experience. Everyday situations and frustrations can inspire meaningful and practical research topics. 5. Relevant literature. Reviewing existing studies reveals gaps, limitations, or areas that need further investigation. Meaning of hypothesis. A hypothesis is a temporary, testable prediction about the possible relationship between two or more variables in a research study. The word hypothesis comes from Greek, meaning an assumption or starting point that is yet to be tested and proven. A hypothesis gives direction to research by clearly stating what the researcher expects to find. It must be specific and capable of being tested. 2 types: null hypothesis, H, states no relationship exists, and alternative hypothesis, H, states that a relationship does exist. For example, a researcher may hypothesize that students who study more hours will score higher marks in their exams. Formulation of hypothesis. Step 1. State the hypothesis. Set up H, null, no relationship exists, and H, alternative, a relationship exists, based on the expected finding. Step 2. Level of significance. Fix the acceptable probability of error. usually 0.05, meaning a 5% risk of wrongly rejecting a true null hypothesis. Step 3. Choose a test statistic. Select the right statistical test, z-test, t-test, or chi-square, to decide whether to accept or reject the null hypothesis. Step 4. Define critical region. Calculate the test statistic value and compare it with the critical value to make the final accept or reject decision. Developing research proposals. Part A. 1. Title should be concise, descriptive, and clearly indicate the independent and dependent variables of the study. 2. Abstract, a brief 300-word summary covering the main research question, rationale, hypothesis, and method used. 3. Introduction provides background information and explains why the research needs to be done and its relevance to the field. 4. Objectives states the general goal, overall purpose, and specific objectives, primary and secondary goals of the study. 5. Variables identifies and defines independent, dependent, confounding, and background variables along with their measurement methods. Developing research proposals. Part B. 6. Questions and hypotheses states the tentative predictions or specific research questions the study will investigate and test. 7. Methodology describes the research design, sample size, data collection method, instruments, and the plan for data analysis. 8. Budget provides an item-wise cost breakdown with justification and explains how the study will be financed. 9. References lists all sources cited in the proposal with dates of access included for any web-based references. 10. Appendixes includes interview protocols, informed consent forms, permission letters, and any questionnaires or scales used. Operational definitions of concepts. 1. Specific clearly states the exact method or tool used to measure a concept, avoiding vague or general descriptions. 2. Observable ensures the concept can be directly seen or recorded by the researcher or measuring instruments. 3. Measurable allows the concept to be quantified using numbers, scores, scales, or ratings for comparison and analysis. 4. Operational defines the concept through the exact steps used to study it, so the study can be replicated by other researchers. Meaning of sampling. Sampling means selecting a small group from a large population to draw conclusions about the entire group. The word sampling comes from sample, which means a small part taken to represent the whole. Sampling is used when studying every member of a population is impossible or impractical. The researcher selects a portion of the population and uses that data to make judgments about the entire group. A well-selected sample gives results that closely match the full population. For example, instead of surveying all students in a university, a researcher selects 200 students to understand the views of the entire student body. Laws of sampling. Law 1. Law of statistical regularity. If a moderately large group is selected randomly from a population, their characteristics will fairly accurately reflect the characteristics of the entire population. The larger the sample, the more reliable the result. Law 2. Law of inertia of large numbers. Larger samples tend to be more stable and reliable. The reliability of a sample increases with the square root of its size. The bigger the sample, the more representative and dependable it will be. Sampling frame, sampling error, sample size. Sampling frame, a complete list of all units in the target population from which the sample is selected. Example, a customer list from a credit card company. Sampling error, the difference between sample results and the actual population value. 2 types, biased error, due to prejudice or deliberate selection, and unbiased error, occurring by chance during investigation. Sample size, the total number of observations selected from a population to calculate estimates. A larger sample generally gives more accurate and reliable results. Factors influencing sample size. 1. Size of universe. Larger populations require a bigger sample size for accurate representation. 2. Availability of resources. More resources allow a larger sample, but limited budget often restricts the size. 3. Degree of accuracy. A higher level of accuracy required means a larger sample size is needed. 4. Homogeneity of universe. If all units are similar, a small sample works. Diverse populations need larger samples. 5. Nature of study. Intensive studies use smaller samples. Extensive studies that won't be repeated need larger ones. 6. Nature of respondents. If many respondents may not cooperate, a larger sample should be selected to compensate. Characteristics of a good sample. A. Representative. The sample must truly and accurately reflect the characteristics of the entire population. B. Small sampling error. The design should result in minimal difference between sample results and actual population values. C. Viable within budget. The sample design must be practical and manageable within the available resources and budget. D. Controls systematic bias. The design should identify and control systematic errors in the sample selection process. E. Applicable results. The findings should be generalizable to the full population at a reasonable level of confidence. Thank you. Watch Part 2, Sampling Types and Research Design. Don't forget to subscribe to Riaz Notes. B.com BBA BCU. Riaz Notes.